Scorpio, let me put it this way. If there is anyone in the zodiac who is equipped to handle a Pluto transit, it's you. Hi all, my name is Haley Comet and welcome to my Cosmic Corner of the Internet, where we discuss all things astrology, and today, all things 12 Days of Cosmos Scorpio 2025 edition. What is aligning within the astrology of 2025 for you if you are a Scorpio, and how it is that you can co-create with these cosmic rhythms and cycles in order to make the year ahead the most magical possible. One thing you need to know about me and your time here in my Cosmic Corner of the Internet is that I am big on empowering you through astrology. I'll always be straight up with you around the energies that are coming in, but I am a firm believer that it's not just about what is going to happen to us with the astrology. It's about what we are going to make happen with the astrology, how you are going to lean into these transits, how you are going to navigate these themes in order to co-create the highest possible manifestation within the year ahead. I believe that to be forewarned is to be forearmed, and I also believe that to be notified about the upcoming opportunities within the year ahead can also be beneficial so that you seize said opportunities. Because do not be fooled, Scorpio, there is beneficial astrology aligning for you this year, but it's also occurring in tandem with some more challenging transits. So we'll break all of this down, everything you need to know, what opportunities are aligning, what challenges you may run into within the year ahead. But before we do, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Haley Comet. It's so lovely to have you here. If you resonate with me and my astrology style, I would so appreciate to have you come around the Cosmic Corner more often. Your subscription, your liking, your commenting means so much in supporting this video. This is a part of my series 12 Days of Cosmos, which is a series in which I illuminate the 2025 astrological stories for every sign in the zodiac. I want to let you know that this video will be the most resonant if you are a Scorpio rising, Scorpio ascendant, it means the same thing, or a Scorpio sun. The reason for this is that most of this forecast is told through the lens of houses. Your rising sign will be the most accurate snapshot of your year because this is your actual houses within your chart based on a whole sign understanding. I also recommend listening to your sun sign because you can use solar houses. It's a technique that I use within my practice, which is when you essentially take the sun and put it into the first house and set up the houses accordingly. Again, you don't have to do all that, but that's why I recommend listening to the rising sign and the sun sign. Rising sign for actual houses, that'll be major life events, and sun sign for solar houses. That'll also be an additional layer of themes you're working with. So check that out within the playlist below. If one of your signs is not live yet, stay tuned. I'm posting all 12 Days of Cosmos throughout the month of December. But without further ado, Scorpio, you and I have a lot to discuss, so let's get into it. Let's take it into your 12 Days of Cosmos Scorpio 2025 edition, deep renovation to your home base. Okay, Scorpio, I know who I'm talking to, and I know you guys love to get deep. And in getting deep with your forecast, I like to firstly call out a defining transit of the year. This is essentially a transit that when you think back to 2025, it'll likely be a transit that sticks out within your mind, or at least the themes associated with said transit may be incredibly relevant and resonant with the year that you are stepping into. And for this, I'd love to explore Pluto in Aquarius. Now, it's important to highlight that this is not a transit that is just limited to 2025. Pluto has been dabbling in Aquarius since 2023, and it's settling in for the long haul until 2044. What makes 2025 significant is that this is the first year that from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, Pluto is settled into Aquarius, and thus it is moving into your fourth house, which is the sector of your chart that governs home, family, emotional state. I like to think of the birth chart as a tree. And the top of the chart, the midheaven, the 10th house, that's like the leaves of the tree. It's the heights that we reach. It's the ambitions we ascend to. It's what people know of us. It's what people can see of us from a very public level. Now, if we go opposite the 10th house, we get to the 4th house in the IC. And this is the root network of the tree that digs into the earth underground. It's secretive, it's where it is that we draw on our nourishment, and it's what people cannot readily see about us. Where it is that we come from, our emotional regulation strategies, our home. It's what is not visible for the public eye, for public consumption. But again, those heights that we're able to reach to and ascend to via our branches is all made possible from the depth that we are able to dig to via our roots. That's how we draw in our nourishment. It's what allowed us to grow tall. It's what our foundations are built upon. And Pluto is coming in like a wrecking ball, okay? That's kind of the energy of Pluto to this sector. And it's not that your tree is toppling down. If anything, what you will find with this Pluto transit is that you find just how resilient you are, just how many storms that you can withstand. But what I will say is that if you have shoddy root network, if you have been emotionally coping in ways that are not sustainable for your growth, if your family has imprinted your psyche in such a way and you've just been trying to avoid it, this tends to be a time that your root network can like run into some rocks that are beneath the surface, right? And those rocks could be your family of origin, it could be your generational cycles, it could be your emotional regulation, it could be your physical abode. It's things that are more private, it's things that are more sacred. But the rest of the chart is built upon this territory. So a lot of times when Pluto settles into the sector, it's really making clear what within our life is built on a shoddy foundation, where it is that we have been coping in ways that are not beneficial for us, where it is that we have even been trying to build with unsustainable soil around us, or where there is a huge boulder underneath our roots affecting our ability to really get nourishment in order to grow, in order to send to the legacy that we want to reach. So I promise I'll take it away from the tree analogy and essentially illuminate how this may show up within your life, within real life. This is a long process, so it's not necessarily going to all come alive this year. But you can find that you are starting to recognize and realize some of the ways that you have been conditioned or molded to see the world. You know, Pluto in Aquarius ultimately is a more revolutionary transit. It's a little bit more of a rebellious transit. And with Pluto in Aquarius, some of you are questioning things, maybe for the first time, questioning how you were brought up. Question how you were conditioned to see the world. Question how you were raised and what cycles you have been a part of, or your family tree has been a part of. And maybe with the energy of Pluto, you are really seeking to destroy any sort of cycle, any sort of power struggle that could have extended back for generations. And it doesn't always necessarily need to be so nefarious. It could just be this energy around, gosh, everybody within my family has felt like they had to live their life in this particular way. What if I could live it differently? With the energy of Pluto and Aquarius, what if I could disrupt the expectations that are put on me? You know, it's worth noting, we'll talk about it more in a bit, but you within the years 2025 and 2026 are wrapping up a Uranus transit that for a lot of you was you rebelling against societal structures, norms that did not serve, rebelling against people who were trying to control you or ensnare you in some way, even just rebelling against people telling you who to be or how to be. And with the energy of Pluto and Aquarius, now it's kind of like this digging deep around where did this conditioning, where did this programming come from? How far deep does it go? Because it's not seamless work to break free of generational cycles. It's not easy work to identify and transform ancestral loops. It goes deep and it takes fearlessness a lot of times to go to those depths. And that's why I was saying in the intro that you are equipped to handle this transit. You might be listening to this just being like, oh, Haley Comet, I was hoping you would tell me that this year would just be like me chilling in a hot tub. And listen, there are blessings ahead. Jupiter enters a fellow water sign this year. We will connect on it. But I need to be forthright that with the energy of Pluto, it does ask you to have the courage to ask yourself the hard questions and to look your emotional coping strategies squarely in the face. Because for a lot of you, I mean, you are a Scorpio, which indicates that you do feel deeply. But when we consider this from a whole sign perspective, and your fourth house being governed by Aquarius, perhaps because of the depth of those emotions, there can be an energy where you seek to detach yourself from them, or logicize your emotions, or even distract your mind from your emotions. And the energy of Pluto, it's asking you to really get courageous and fearless enough to get to the core, get to the root of things, not distracting yourself, not trying to logicize it or detach from it, but truly trying to get to the root. Because sometimes we deal with the symptoms and we don't deal with the root cause. Because sometimes if there's something beneath the surface, right, there's bad soil. Okay. There's bad soil, right? There's a huge boulder underneath the roots. I know I said no more tree analogy, but let me have this, okay? When we have these issues that do arise, it will show up via symptoms. Like the tree may have some of the leaves fall off, and we can glue the leaves back on, but that doesn't take away from the fact that the tree's health is suffering because there's an issue. But if we don't take our shovel and dig beneath the surface and see, oh, is there a boulder here, or test the soil, how is this? We will just try to remedy the problem, the symptom, gluing the leaves back on the tree, thinking that'll fix it. We're addressing the symptom and not the root cause. And what Pluto does is it makes you look at the root cause, whether that was your family lineage, whether that was your programming, whether that was your own emotional self-soothing tactics. It makes you get clear, what am I trying to avoid feeling right now? Because so often our coping strategies, our emotional regulation, our self-soothing, it's just us wanting to keep ourselves safe. And sometimes certain events happen that really make us go to this fight or flight state, the survival state. And we all have different ways of coping. You know, some of us might just try to pretend like everything's fine, just glue the leaves back on. Some of us might avoid it. Some of us might blame the tree next to us. But what Pluto is really asking you to do is see where you can identify the root cause. What causes me to lash out in the ways that I do, or to feel and cope in these particular ways? Where did I learn that this is where my safety lands? Where did I feel the weight of needing to uphold these certain expectations of me? There is an ask to go deep into your own emotions, go deep into your own foundations. And when you go deep, sometimes you do have this awakening energy where you recognize that a lot of what your life has been built on has been a lie. And it's not that everything in your life has got to go, but it's very common that when we have Pluto in the fourth house, we start to ask ourselves deeper questions, and then we just recognize that there's certain elements of our life that we've just been going through the motions, or we've just been trying to avoid the discomfort of change, or avoid the discomfort of separating ourselves from things that we know are superficial, but at least it's something. With the energy of Pluto, sometimes doing this deep work, whether you're doing this, in therapy, whether you're doing this in NLP, whether you're doing this just because of events that are happening within your family, there's many different ways that it can get you there. But what I can say with Pluto in the fourth house, it really begins to make you question, who am I? Why am I the way that I am? And what do I truly want? What really nourishes me? What really pours into me? And what have I been taught to want? And do I genuinely want that? It just makes you question everything. It makes you examine your life, which naturally in turn leads us to change things because we're looking at it more deeply. And again, if we are just in survival mode, if we are just going through the motions, we're not looking at things with this investigative Pluto lens. And thus we will just keep doing the same thing over and over and wondering why we're getting the same results, wondering why the leaves keep falling and the tree seems like it's decaying. There's something deeper for us to acknowledge here. And again, this could have to do with your own emotional regulation strategies. This could have to do with certain generational cycles or certain trauma that you are processing. This also could take place as it relates to family themes. And I want to be so mindful here, Scorpio, because I believe that sometimes we can get into a very panicked state and assume the worst when we dial into these transits. Because Pluto is a planet of beginnings and endings. And when you consider it's in the fourth house, of course, your mind might go to the worst case scenario around, oh my gosh, am I going to, lose my house? Am I going to lose a family member? I would really encourage you, because Pluto is about power, I would really encourage you not to feel disempowered by this transit. Again, Pluto in the fourth house, you are really tapping into your power. Like there's a reason why after this transit, it's like you are solid. Your root network is in the earth. You are tall. No storm can withstand you. Your trees are not falling off any longer. Like there's a reason why we come out of Pluto transits an entirely different person, a stronger person, a more resilient person. There's a reason why that occurs. And so it's important wherever possible with Pluto, really strive not to see yourself as a victim to life and its circumstances. There may have been many experiences that you were a victim of. You know, fourth house speaks of the past and our family of origin. And so a lot of you could have even blocked out certain things from your childhood, or you're just recognizing the depth and the effects that these events did have on you. In your psyche, it's deep, it hurts, it's unfair. This is not me saying that you are not genuinely a victim of some of life's circumstances. But with the energy of Pluto, it's so important to really connect to the version of you who's on the other side of it. Pluto energy can be that kind of tunnel of pain energy, in a sense, in which we have no choice but to go through it. The only way out is through. And it takes us into these deeper crevices of our psychology, of our emotions, of our upbringing. And that's not an easy process. But you're able to build something so much more solid and lasting because of that. Because again, if we never contemplate and question why we are the way we are, why we have the coping strategies that we have, that's where generational cycles just continue person to person to person. If people are just going through the motions, just blindly responding in the ways that we have learned to cope because it's what's modeled to us, like it takes someone who is a cycle disruptor or a cycle breaker to really like do this work. And I am of the belief that if we heal ourselves or break the cycle, we do heal everybody who came before us within the generational cycle, as well as if you plan to have children or build a family base, we also break that cycle for everybody who comes after us. So it's deep work, it's important work, but I need to be forthright with you that it can be painful work. And sometimes, absolutely, this could show up literally. There could be power struggles around your family, you questioning things a little bit more so, and people not liking that, telling you to play nice, telling you to stay in your place, telling you to not worry about that. Some of you could experience certain major changes as it relates to certain family dynamics. Some of you may potentially even be dealing with grief or loss. Again, I'm not putting that out there. Sometimes it's even just us having to face grief or loss around, gosh, there will be one day that these individuals are not on the planet any longer. And we can even be in that preparatory space of grief, even if it has not occurred within our life. Again, I don't feel that it's empowering to assume the worst case scenario around Pluto destroying our family unit or destroying our home. That's not empowering. Continue to hold the vision for the most positive manifestations of Pluto transiting here to show up. You know, some of you could literally renovate your house. Some of you could burn down your life within your hometown in order to reinvent yourself somewhere else. Some of you could make major changes as it relates to your physical home, as it relates to your family. I want to highlight that everybody's path is so unique, especially Pluto and Aquarius. You know, we're not all of the same. So what's right for my path in doing this work is not going to be the same for your path. But I will share that as part of my path of doing this work, for me, therapy was super helpful for this. And I remember there was really no option but for me to explore that because so much of my life was crumbling all at once. And my therapist shared with me, like, thank goodness this is happening now. And I was so confused why she said that. I'm like, my life is falling apart. What do you mean? Thank goodness this is happening now. And she was like, it was a ticking time bomb. Like, a lot of what is finally crumbling is finally unearthing. A lot of these coping strategies and these ways of seeing yourself and these ways of seeing the world and these negative thought patterns, these have all been encoded and ingrained since childhood. And it has been the dominant operant force within your life, but it's been beneath the surface. It's been subconscious. And finally, your life crumbled in such a way that you had no choice but to finally get to those themes. Because if it didn't crumble now, it would have just crumbled in 10 years time or 15 years time. Sometimes the more that we snooze or avoid the work, the louder and louder it gets. And if we think about this energy of building an actual house and wanting to build all these stories, we can think about fourth house as the basement. It's what's underneath. And again, if we avoid the basement, if we don't go down in the basement and we just avoid the leaks in the basement and we just stuff things things down there and we never go down there and we never deal with it, there could be certain issues, and I mean this in an analogy format. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen to you, but let's say there's like mold or something of that nature in the basement that we're avoiding and ignoring. Sometimes it's helpful when there is an incident that brings our awareness to, oh, there's a lot of freaking mold here, so that we don't build this entire house on a not solid foundation. We've got mold in the basement. Things could crumble if we don't deal with what's happening beneath the surface. And that's the gift of Pluto, is that it makes you sort out the belongings in the basement. It makes you address the mold in the basement. Is it pleasant? No, but will it allow you to build forward more sustainably, more strong, and more in a deep alignment with who it is that you are and who it is that you're meant to be? Absolutely. I want to highlight to you, Scorpio, that I am by no means implying that from now until 2044, it's going to be constant, deep psychological work. This energy is alive here, but it's a bit like a dull hum, like in the background, in that if you tune in, you can hear it. So you might find that over the next 20 years, there's themes of this renovation deep beneath the surface taking place. But when you have a Pluto transit, that's when that dull hum turns into a cacophony, or it turns into a loud noise. And that would be the case whenever Pluto squares your Scorpio placements exactly. That's when this energy accentuates and is highlighted. And that'll be the case within the year 2025 if you have any Scorpio placements between 1 and 3 degrees. That means Pluto will square off with your placements, and these themes around reinvention, transformation, evolution, and power will be the most highlighted. And I do want to be forthright with you that Pluto is the energy of rebirth for a reason, in that a part of us has to die for a new self to be reborn. Sometimes Pluto energy does deal with themes of us having to let something go. You know, when it comes to Pluto energy, we can either let go or be dragged. And the energy of Pluto does ask us to believe in the power of renewal, that if something is not serving, that it's safe for us to let go, and to choose wherever possible who it is that you're evolving to be rather than who it is that you've been. Even if that's scary, because you don't know this person, you don't know this next iteration of your life. And the energy of Pluto asks you to really be guided by your higher self, by your future self through this transformation. Because like I said, there can be moments that are a little bit darker or a little bit more challenging, but please know and believe that there is a version of you who has gotten to the other side of this work and is stronger because of it, more resilient because of it, more capable because of it. And I'm telling you, it's like night and day. When I connect with my clients after they have gone through a Pluto transit, they glow differently, they move differently. If you talk to them, they will not be like, you know, love and light about it necessarily, but it's like there's such a deeper level of self-knowledge, I feel. There's such an acute awareness of what really matters out of life. Because Pluto energy really rips us from the superficial. It really takes us into what matters within this experience. Pluto is around death, and so it can be a time really contemplating mortality and what it is that we want to do with this experience on Earth. And these are deep topics. And that's why, Scorpio, you are equipped to handle this Pluto transit more so than anyone else. You likely have already gone through a couple of reinventions, and certainly a Pluto transit is no walk in the park, but I guarantee there is a future self version of you on the other side of this that is so grateful for the work that you, within this current timeline, within this current experience, are doing. So Scorpio, in deepening our discovery for 2025's astrology, we next look to your ruling planet, because looking to what your ruling planet is doing in the year ahead is a great technique to figure out what you may be doing within the year ahead. And super important caveat here, I am a traditional astrologer, which means that I utilize the traditional planets in terms of rulership. I still use the outer planets. Of course, we just talked about Pluto. We will talk about Uranus changing signs, Neptune changing signs. I still utilize the outer planets, but in terms of rulership, I use traditional rulers. What does this mean for you? This means within the section, I will refer to your ruling planet as Mars. If you are a modern astrologer or you use modern rulerships, you would look to Pluto. But the good news is we already talked about Pluto. So either way, you're getting dialed in on both of your rulers, if you consider it traditional or modern or otherwise. So let's discuss your Mars story. You start the year with your ruling planet retrograde. And so you can find that you start this year in reflection mode. You know, Pluto is in Aquarius the entirety of the year. So this Pluto fourth house energy, it's not just starting in 2025. It's already been underway since 2023. So this is not anything brand new. Certainly there's deeper layers, there's new boulders to discover and new soil tests, and you're going deep. Definitely the work never stops, it just gets deeper. But I do want to let you know that you're starting the year in a little bit more of a reflective space, especially with your ruling planet retrograde. And we start the year with your ruling planet retrograde in your 10th house, which is quite different to the root system. This is the leaves. This is the leaves of the tree. This is what people see of you. And you're in reflection about it. With this Pluto energy, a lot of the work that you're doing is beneath the scenes. It's underground. It's what people cannot see from you. So there might be a lot going on with you, but other people aren't necessarily privy to that. But a lot of times as we change and we evolve and we do this work beneath the surface, it will show through eventually. And one way that you may feel this taking place is as you are really contemplating what your parents expected of you, or your upbringing, or your childhood, or things of that nature. With Mars retrograde here, a lot of you could be contemplating what it is that you have chosen to do within career. And potentially for some, contemplating how it is that you felt pressured to live out your family's legacy, or to be their pride and joy, to make them proud. And maybe with Mars retrograde, recognizing that maybe your heart isn't in what it is that you're doing because it was never your dream to begin with. You know, it's very much giving that cheesy movie cliche around football isn't my dream, Dad, it's your dream. But seriously, that's what this energy is giving, especially with Mars opposing Pluto at the beginning of the year. There could be certain power struggles around you building something, trying to make people proud of you, or trying to get validation that never fully feels like it arrives. At the end of the day, you have to do it for you. And even if it wasn't you literally going into this profession in order to make your family proud of you, what have you, there could be certain dynamics that are playing out in reference to your career around seeking to get the validation, the adoration from the public that you never got at home, but it doesn't feel to be enough. Hoping to get the praise and the applause in order to put a band-aid on ways that you could have felt neglected or even abandoned at a young age. You know, when it comes to success, it is an amplifier. We think we can succeed our way out of pain and out of healing, but it amplifies what's beneath the surface. And I feel that some of you could be recognizing that around, this was supposed to fix it. As soon as I hit this level in my career, this was supposed to fix it. As soon as I reach this milestone, my parents are meant to be proud of me. Or as soon as this occurs, there's meant to be no more family drama. And it just feels bottomless and endless. And with Mars retrograde, it kind of gives that, what was I made for? Billie Eilish energy, where it's just like, what is it that I deeply want within as well as outside of me? Like, what is it that I desire? Because a lot of you could be feeling very burnt out and drained as it relates to work. A lot of you could have been hustling and chasing, and there's an energy aligning earlier in the year where you're like, what for? What for? Because Pluto energy can sometimes be at all costs obsessive energy. So if you have been, pushing your body and fighting through in order to achieve and in order to fight off competitors and things of that nature, this could be a time that you're feeling a little defeated. You're feeling a little drained. You're asking yourself, what was I made for? You're asking yourself, what do I want? What's my heart's desire with the energy of Mars and Leo? And really doing the work to separate what your heart's desire is away from what you've been programmed to believe it was, or what your family thought your heart's desire should be. Because when we go into fields or creative outlets or what have you, hoping to secure validation, adoration, pride within us, we will reach a place in which we are feeling drained because that motivation isn't true, it's not intrinsic. And so with Mars retrograde, it could be really asking you, what lights me up? What do I like to create? What do I like to put energy towards? And how can I reallocate my priorities to do just that? Some of you could be dealing with literal conflicts with authority figures, even with father figures, things of that nature during this time, or contemplating themes like this. Mars only spends a couple of days in Leo in the year 2025 before it retrogrades back into Cancer, your fellow water sign. And with the energy of then, Mars going into your 9th house, this would be a contemplation around what you have faith in, what your belief systems are, and how it is that they motivate you, how it is that they inspire you. Some of you could be dealing with conflict around churches or within spirituality or within astrology circles. You never know. Some of you could be dealing with some travel delays, but ultimately when I think of your ruling planet in the 9th house, it just feels like a lot of you are contemplating, what's the big picture of what I want within this experience? Because like I said, that's the gift of having a Pluto transit, is that it really sharpens into focus. Like, what do I want in this life? And if there are certain things that you've been pushing off, you've always wanted to go to Paris in the spring. You've always wanted to learn Spanish. You've always wanted to do this. You've always wanted to do that. Pluto energy really reminds us that feeling like we have time is an illusion. Like, time is of the essence. This experience is urgent and finite. And with Mars retrograde, it just could be contemplating what soul-widening, expanding experiences you truly desire to have during your time here on planet Earth. And when we follow what your ruler does this year, Mars takes about 2 years to go in a full revolution. So Mars starts the year in Leo, goes back into Cancer, and then it stations direct February 23rd. So you should start to feel some forward momentum. Did you hear that car? From that point onward. And by the end of the year, it gets to its exaltation Capricorn, which for you is your 3rd house. So essentially Mars starts in your 9th house and it goes all the way to your 3rd house. And this is interesting because it is going to the eastern side of the chart. And so it starts in a very public arena around what's my energy going towards, and is this lighting me up, and is this what I want to do? And then the more and more that it transits and goes to the eastern sky, the more focus goes to you as a human. It goes to your body, it goes to your outlook. You can find that there are parts of this year in which you are drawing a little bit more energy inward. You are prioritizing self a little bit more. You are contemplating things. You are reflecting on what it is that you want, on what it is that lights you up within this experience. It's not exact, but I would say the side of the chart and the life arenas that are being activated is more so on the sowing side of the chart. So a lot of you could feel that you are, working towards something. And the thing about working towards something is that it's worth it and it'll be sustainable if it's something that means something to you. If you try to build a dream for somebody else or to get a need met that you felt like was never offered to you, you will run out of steam. It makes it sustainable if it's your vision, if it's something that lights you up. And so you could find in the year 2025, you are working to build something and maybe the results won't be immediately visible. Like I said about the Pluto energy, it's beneath the surface. And with Mars kind of going towards the eastern portion of the chart, there could be a period where you come inward, where you are, hermiting a bit, or you are really locking in or striving to focus on the growth that you want and the life that you want to live and the projects that you want to prioritize. Scorpio, you know what's fascinating about 2025's astrology is that all of the outer planets that are slow to move and rare to change signs are in new sectors of the sky this year. And so it's enlivening some new territories of your chart, and thus some new life arenas are coming to the surface for review, for growth, for co-creation. So let's get into it. I actually firstly want to start with Uranus because Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018. Taurus is your opposite sign. And so from a house perspective, Uranus has been in your 7th house since 2018. 7th house deals with one-to-one connections and partnerships, and Uranus is a planet that is very unstable. So this could have led to a lot of instability within your connections. On-off cycles. People who randomly popped into your life and then randomly popped out of your life just as quickly. Ups and downs within your marriage, your spouse or your partner trying to find themselves or going through a midlife crisis. Things could have been a little up and down. There could have been certain events that you did not anticipate nor foresee. As intuitive as you are, sometimes Uranus energy can catch us by surprise, especially when it is making a hard aspect to our placements, which I will let you you know here that if you have Scorpio placements between 23 to 29 degrees, you will have a Uranus opposition this year, and it's going to accentuate these themes of restlessness, instability, rebellion, questioning normalcy, questioning convention, wanting something different, feeling more restless, wanting to break free of anything in your life that feels restrictive. Those themes are going to be particularly alive if you have later Scorpio placements. Now, if you have earlier Scorpio placements, you likely had your Uranus opposition a little closer to 2018. But nevertheless, you are getting a temporary relief from having Uranus in your opposite sign, thus leading to all of these ups and downs within yourself, within your relationships. That is because from July 7th to November 7th of this year, Uranus briefly enters Gemini. Now, it officially moves into the sector next year. It dabbles back into Taurus later in the year, so you could feel these Uranian energies infuse your connections once more. But just know that the end of this Uranus transit is near, and taking some time and space to really appreciate what Uranus energy brought to the surface within you. Because even though it can lead to unexpected events, even though it can lead to ups and downs, relational ups and downs, our type changing, the types of people that we are drawn to changing, random unexpected experiences, ups and downs within our connection, while Uranus energy can indicate all of this, it can also indicate this energy around really wanting your partnership to be a genuine reflection of who it is that you are, not the partner that you've been programmed to think is who it is that you should partner with, not the conventional sort of romance, but really carving into who makes me feel like me, who makes me feel alive, who is it that I want to spend my life with, even if it's not what other people would expect from me. And it could be this energy where you've been breaking the rules of traditional relational roles. You could even have found this was a time that you experimented with dating new people and thus exploring new sides of yourself. Honor what Uranus energy could have illuminated to you as you are nearing the end of this cycle. Again, we get a temporary reprieve from July 7th to November 7th, and the cycle officially concludes next year. But you are at the end of it, and you do get that break from the Uranian instability. At that point, the focus shifts from one-to-one connections to shared assets. So you can find from July 7th to November 7th, there may be some shakeups and support that is given to you. There could be unexpected inheritance, unexpected alimony, unexpected lawsuit money finding you, unexpected commission check or royalty that you did not expect. You know, continue to anchor into the mind state around I'm a magnet for unexpected money to find me. Certainly, Uranus energy could be an unexpected tax bill or something of that nature, but keep holding the vision for good sort of surprises. You know, Uranus is not necessarily unexpected good things or bad things. It's neutral. It's just the planet of unexpected. So be open to receiving unexpected streams of support from July 7th to November 7th. This could be a time that your spouse's income goes through some changes, or your partner is being a little bit more reckless with their income. If you have a business partner, there could be some shakeups with that. If you have someone who manages your money, you have an accountant, you have a manager or something of that nature, there can be shakeups there. You may want to liberate yourself from certain contracts, even with Uranus having been in the 7th house earlier this year. And I would also encourage, because this sector of your chart is also where Jupiter will be concentrated. So from the beginning of the year until June 9th, Jupiter will be in Gemini, also your 8th house. And so a co-creative way to step into this transit is really being open to new ways that money can find you. You know, with Gemini governing your 8th house, really be open to learning that you can do around investments, ways that your money could earn you money, or even looking into something like an ebook or something written in order to bring in more money to you. 8th house deals with themes that are a little bit more passive, money that finds us where there's a little bit of a delay, things such as royalties or people investing in us or support that is given to us. So I do see that you could be a magnet to unexpected, random money to find you this year. Welcome it in. I would also highlight, outside of money that comes to us from others, 8th house also governs essentially death and grief. I know I'm being so morbid with this, forecast. I'm not freaking you out, Scorpio. I'm not saying that anyone's going to pass away, but luckily I know I'm talking to Scorpio, so you guys can hang with the intense themes. And it's not that there is literal random, death or loss that comes into our life, but I would say with this energy alive and your Pluto transit, it just feels like a lot of you are going through something a little bit more existential around really contemplating, okay, time's going by, like what do I want to do with my life? And I am of the belief that if we can understand death, if we can really look death in the face and just understand that we and everyone we know are going to pass away one day, that really frees us to live because we recognize, hey, my time here is finite and I don't know why I take things so serious. Like, it's not like we're getting out of this alive anyway. I don't have the time to pretend to be somebody else, right? With Uranus energy, it's to thine own self be true energy. I don't have the time to delay my desires. I don't have the time to push off this vacation or this trip that I really want to go on. Like, time is of the essence. And I feel a lot of you are wanting to grab hold of that. Sometimes you are grieving a prior self. Sometimes you could be grieving a literal person, grieving a literal season of your life. 8th house transits can be a time where you're doing a lot of shadow work. You're digging beneath the surface. You'll notice that there's some themes coming alive with your 2025, but especially with the energy of Jupiter, it frees us when we go into these themes, when we befriend, the skeletons in our closet, or we befriend our demons, or we befriend our fears, right? It supports us in fearlessness, and it also frees us in stepping into a new lease on life, which I do feel some of you could be stepping into, particularly towards the latter portion of the year. You can really find that you have a renewed faith in life. And I say this because from June 9th until the end of the year, Jupiter will then enter Cancer, which activates your 9th house, which 9th house is the house of faith. It's the house of spirituality, of religion, of philosophy, of academia. So a lot of you are really wanting to step into absorbing more wisdom, more knowledge. And so some of you may be wanting to find that through getting your master's. Some of you could step into being a professor yourself. Some of you could get more into some sort of intuitive or psychic study of some sort, learning more about astrology. Jupiter in Cancer, this is Jupiter's exaltation. So its themes of meaning and abundance are even more highlighted. And I just see that your belief systems could be giving you a sense of faith, could make you feel very emotionally nurtured. Sometimes when we have certain experiences like Pluto energy that bring us to our knees, that make us question, what do I want and what am I doing with my life? Those are the moments that we reach for God or we reach for spiritual modalities because we need something to believe in. And I see that you're finding something to believe in, Scorpio, towards the latter portion of the year. Some of you could also be traveling, like opening your heart to new places, new sites. Cancer energy does have to deal with home. So maybe you're even visiting a land that you have roots in, where you are connected to the culture. Maybe the Pluto energy is you excavating to want to understand deeper your roots. And maybe you go on some sort of pilgrimage back to a place where you have ancestry. That could lead to an overall more supportive worldview. Is a gift of 9th house energy, is that we are wanting to dial into the big picture of our world. Once we are fearless enough to go through the tunnel of pain, once we are fearless enough to walk through the dark night of the soul, like dawn does come, we do find meaning, we do find purpose on the other side of it. So it's just really important if you go through periods this year where there are challenging moments to work the muscle of having faith, as well as pay attention to what lighthouses are alive in your world as you navigate through darkness. Like what belief systems give you a sense of faith? What prayers give you a sense of faith? What meditations that you do give you a sense of faith? Like sometimes these tools can help walk us through and get to the other side. And sometimes it just shows up in glimmers, things that give us a sense of meaning, things that make our worlds make more sense, things that open up our mind and our soul to new experiences. I want to let you know that if you have Scorpio placements between 0 to 26 degrees, these Jupiter themes are even more enlivened and encouraged within your chart. You could feel quite lucky. Your optimism at this time could be a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. You could find that you're more open to life. Again, a lot of you are just facing your fears And you're really getting clear around where these fears stem from, and you're really returning where these fears have been programmed into you from other people. And it's helping you free yourself in order to really live, Scorpio. That's a gift of this year, I would say, is that you're open to new places and spaces. You're open to new sides of yourself. You're open to new experiences. And you're departing your comfort zone, which, yes, can be scary when you initially leave your nest, but you also find your wings and you see new sights. And so I would encourage you in the latter half of the year, great time to travel, great time to take that course you've been wanting to take, learn that language that you've been wanting to take. The 8th house energy may have activated, I don't have endless amount of time here. I don't want to delay these bucket list experiences. Like, I need to seize opportunity. I would definitely encourage you in the latter portion of the year, do things that intentionally get you out of your comfort zone, things that'll make you feel happy, things that your intuition is pulling you towards. I want to highlight that if you have Scorpio placements between 0 to 25 degrees, you will have a Jupiter trine this year. Now, there are 2 signs, thus 2 houses, that are holding a lot of planetary activity this year. It's 2 life arenas that could be particular focal points for a lot of growth. So let's get into it. So firstly, let's talk about Saturn. Saturn has been in your fellow water sign Pisces since 2023, and it has been transiting your 5th house. So a lot of you have gotten very serious about a creative endeavor. You've been working very hard to perfect your craft. You've been getting serious about your creative expression. If you have not, but you want to, I would encourage you to grab hold of the beginning of the year to May 24th and then September 1st to the end of the year, as Saturn will be in your 5th house. This is an arena of activation in your chart, as this is where some of the eclipses land this year. But I do want to let you know Saturn energy is delayed gratification, really doing our due diligence, like having discipline around our creative expression. So it's not always the most flowy time of downloading and channeling, but it is a gifted time around taking time to actually write the freaking novel, taking the time to actually practice the freaking piano. Like, that's the energy of Saturn in your 5th house. Now, this transit may not have been that fun for you. Let's just say it, because 5th house is the house of fun and partying. So some of you could have gotten sober, or you've been exerting limits over your partying. You just were less interested in it. Some of you may have found that life felt less fun. Some of you could have even stepped into being parents at this time and taking on additional responsibilities there. You also have Neptune in this territory of your chart for some of 2025 as well, from the beginning of the year until March 30th and from October 22nd until the end of the year. Both of these transits officially conclude next year, but they kind of dabble into the new story while we're wrapping up the old story. And so with Neptune in the 5th house, 5th house also has to deal with romance, and with the energy of Neptune in the 5th house, some of you could have found that when it comes to romance, you've been a little bit delulu. You've been a little bit delulu, and I would be mindful of being delulu this year. Neptune in 5th house, it can be a time that we are more romanced by life. We want to fall in love. We even have very dreamy experiences that are like movie moments, really intense, passionate moments. I know Scorpios are all around passion, and that could have been part of your experience throughout the Neptune and Pisces journey, which has been a long one. I want to let you know that. And with the energy of Neptune transiting your 5th house, this could have also led to your need to put boundaries around your drinking or your partying, because Neptune energy can be quite escapist. It could be quite in our own fantasy world. And with the energy of Neptune 5th house, we could have found that we were getting lost in romance, lost in recreation, or having a more dreamy, idealistic look at these arenas. The 5th house is also where the North Node is transiting. So wherever the North Node is transiting is an arena that we are being asked to prioritize, or the universe is nudging us towards. So if you are a Scorpio creative, this is a very beneficial year to be prioritizing your creative expression. Again, it may take some oomph with the Saturn energy, taking time, having discipline around actually getting to your painting easel, actually opening a Word document and writing some words down. Like, you have to work with this transit in order to perfect your craft or create the novel, create the movie, what have you. But with the energy of North Node, you could experience certain activations here, certain events building here. You could feel more inspired so long as you're actually taking the time to sit down and be a conduit for inspiration. You also could find that there is more romance alive this year. I would encourage you to exercise a healthy amount of caution. You know, with Neptune also here, sometimes we can want to get swept away in a fairy tale, and Saturn energy really asks you to be discerning, to strive to see people clearly. But there could be like soulmates coming into your world, and soulmates do not necessarily need to be romantic. Like some of you could be having a child and that could be like a soulmate. Like soulmate is really just someone that your soul was destined to meet and connect to and learn from. Even for some of you, someone that you were destined to create with in some essence. And this energy will particularly be highlighted with the eclipses, particularly the Pisces lunar eclipse comes September 7th. There could be a real focus on that. But for most of the year, the North Node is in the 5th house, really asking you to prioritize your creative expression as well as hobbies, cultivating a lust for life or a sense of fun or a sense of enjoyment within this experience. You know, some of the transits that you're having can be a bit depressing, a bit sobering. And so Saturn energy can also be you working the muscle around cultivating joy and having a creative lease on life. Even if you don't identify as being a creative person, it's like, it's making your life a work of art. It's making the way that you get dressed in the morning a work of art. It's making the way that you go about your daily routine a work of art. That'll be relevant with the 6th house energy. But I want to share that while the North Node is nudging you towards the 5th house, the South Node is asking you to let go of some elements of your 11th house. And so South Node Virgo will transit your 11th house this year. So some of you could be letting go of friends or needing to be around certain social groups. You know, if you are somebody who's deciding to no longer drink this year, it's not that you can't hang out with your party friends, but the dynamic does shift. And that's just one example. I just see that the work that you're doing on yourself, you might not resonate with the same groups or the same people that you did prior. There could be an energy where you're prioritizing your own self-expression rather than needing to fit in with a group. There could be an energy around cultivating a healthy enjoyment of the present, falling in love with life, falling in love with the person, turning your life into a work of art, letting go of fearing of the future. You know, ultimately, with North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo, we are being nudged and guided to lead by faith, which is a scary thing to do. And to let go of the plan. You know, this transit is very much when we make a plan, God laughs energy, especially South Node Virgo. Virgo's all around planning, and it's in your 11th house, the house of the future and hopes and dreams. It's not to say that you need to get, you know, nothing matters with it, but there is an energy around worrying for the future, how you thought things were going to be and they're not going according to plan is not doing you any good. And there is a need at this time to really surrender into the divine now and to believe in divine timing and to know that when we take care of this moment, the next moment takes care of itself. To not get ahead of yourself. You know, when you're having Pluto energy, you can be more likely to ruminate and to obsess. And I think this 5th house energy is nudging you this year to just enjoy the moment. See wherever possible, you can just soak up the environment. If you're in the park, be in the park. Try to get out of your thoughts and thinking and assuming the worst and what's going to happen within my future. Be here now. Be here now. There's a real nudge around that. The more that you are in the present moment, the more you're seeing possibilities and opportunities, the more you are a channel for creativity, and the more you get to surrender to the divine's plan, which P.S. is going to be even more beautiful and even more aligned than your plan. Like with South Node Virgo in the 11th house, let go of your plan or how you envision things. Let the divine's plan come through. And the divine speaks to you in creative inspiration. The divine speaks to you in terms of what feels good. The divine speaks to you in terms of seeing the beauty around you. Stay aware of this. And while that is a focus all year, that energy of releasing cliques or groups or needing to keep up with the Joneses and keep up with colleagues and keep up with social media and compete in the public eye, that energy could be the most potent In March, particularly the Virgo lunar eclipse, March 13th, and September, particularly the Virgo solar eclipse, September 21st, could be this energy around really surrendering, letting go of your plan, letting go of a need to fit in, letting go of a need to compete with other people, really allowing yourself to surrender into what your life is destined to be. We do have one outlier eclipse that is wrapping up the work that we've done for the last year and a half in the Aries Libra eclipses, and this lands in your 6th house. It's on March 29th, and it essentially may be nudging you to really see how you have evolved this past year and a half when it relates to your health, when it relates to your routine, when it relates to your day-to-day working habits. So let's get into this energy, because you have a lot in the 6th house, even beyond that eclipse. So Saturn enters your 6th house May 24th, where it stays until September 1st. And when Saturn enters into your 6th house, you may feel that you are in a fist fight with time. You may feel like you never have enough time. You could feel like your responsibilities are crushing you. You could feel like you have this pressure to take care of your body and take care of the cat and take care of the plants. Like 6th house is all of our daily errands and responsibilities, and Saturn can make these things feel quite pressurizing. This is really a time that you need to be extra intentional around being organized, being intentional around your boundaries, around what you can and cannot take on. Because this is the time, if you strive to do it all and do it all perfectly, you will feel spread too thin. And Saturn energy makes us stand on business. It makes us say no, especially if you're in an environment where your coworkers are trying to give their extra work to you or something of that nature. Saturn, especially since it's in Aries, may be asking for you to really step into your power here, not in an overbearing way, but the energy of Saturn just really dialing into what's on your plate, what's on your workload, and seeing where possible you can delegate or you can advocate for yourself. Because if we try to do it all with Saturn in the 6th house, we can just feel like the to-do list is never ending. And ultimately, Saturn isn't being mean. It wants to teach us discipline. It wants to teach us endurance. This can be a time that you can find gains at work, but I won't lie to you, your work environment at this time could feel stuffy. It could feel restrictive. It could feel hard. You could have a lot on your plate. Some of you could be going through a busy season when Saturn is transiting into your 6th house. If some of you are seeking employment, Saturn energy could indicate that there may be delays in these arenas. There could be an energy around feeling underappreciated at work or by your coworkers, something like this. Now, Neptune also moves into the sector from March 30th until October 22nd. And with the energy of Neptune, this is why I was saying it's important to define this is my work, this is your work. Because the energy of Neptune 6th house, you can be more likely to have your coworkers take advantage of you and take advantage of your kindness and your desire to help. You could find that procrastination is really kicking your butt. Mid-year, you have to be mindful. Neptune's a little bit in fantasy. So you can find when you're procrastinating and in your own world, Saturn is right on Neptune's heels. So you can find that there's consequences for kind of being in la la land or kind of brushing things under the rug or not dealing with certain responsibilities. I also want to let you know, not fear-mongering whatsoever, but this would be a year that I would be intentional around your health. Sometimes with Neptune in 6th house, we have mystery symptoms, and Saturn's presence also in this house would encourage you to get to the bottom of those symptoms or do your due diligence if you do need to cut out certain things from your diet or be disciplined around certain exercise routines. You also have Chiron in this sector of your chart all year. So a lot of you are really prioritizing your healing, your physical healing at this time. And Saturn energy asks to make your healing a priority, make it a ritual, make it part of your routine. And as you're doing that, with Neptune in the 6th house, also lean on mind-body exercises. Be open to, the affirmations and the meditations that can go hand in hand with the other practices that you're doing around your healing. So Scorpio, what a year, right? It's going to be a very interesting time in the cosmos and in the collective. And it's going to be an interesting time within your chart. But believe me when I say you've got this. I am of the belief that we all came here choosing the chart that was in alignment with our destiny, choosing the time that we came to be here. So perhaps you were made to be here at a time such as this. I designed some affirmations to empower you in stepping into these energies and continuing to hold the vision around the highest possible manifestations of these planets' emphasis within your life. So I've put these affirmations into a PDF, which you can access within the link in my description. You can either save it to your computer or you can even print it if the affirmations speak to you. So without further ado, your soul-centered affirmations for Scorpio 2025 are as follows. I do the deep inner work. It is safe for me to face my fears. I contemplate the core issue rather than addressing the symptoms. It is safe for me now to transform. It is safe for me now to let go. I shed all that does not serve. I believe in the power of renewal. My family history and ancestry does not define me. I define me. I do the work to genuinely and sustainably emotionally regulate myself. I get clear on my emotional patterns and I seek to evolve them. I am a rebel with a cause. I choose to examine my life deeply. I am a magnet for unexpected sources of income. It is safe for me to receive. I am open to receive. I let go of needing to fit in. I am a creative conduit in tune with the inspiration from the divine. As I take care of this moment, the next moment takes care of itself. I see the beauty and the romance within my day-to-day environment. I take care of my physical vessel. I prioritize every aspect of my healing, my physical healing, my emotional healing, my spiritual healing, and my psychological healing. So Scorpio, let me know within the comments below, what are you looking forward to about this astrology? What are you a little apprehensive about? You can let me know in the comments, or my Instagram handle is @HaleyCommentAstrology. My TikTok is the same. I would so love to connect with you over there, Scorpio. But until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.